see all of you again, and we are embarking today on a what is it called? On a text that has 100 verses of teaching. So just like Panchadashi, she who has 15 chapters, Shatashloki, she who is in the form of or who has what? 100 shlokas. Shloka means verses of shloka usually is in the form of verse. You can also have it, I suppose, in the form of what is that called? Prose, but generally it is in the form of a verse. Verses of praise. Usually devotional verses are called shloka. If you write a poem, to celebrate the birthday of somebody significant in your life, spouse, children, friends, etc., that is generally not called a shloka. So the idea is, shloka means there is a devotional element, and so there is some way in which Bhagavan is invoked, and along with Bhagavan, the devotee in oneself is also invoked. So this devotee-devoted relationship is celebrated in the form of a praise verse, song, etc. called shloka. There is actually also a meter called shloka. We know it as anushtup, but that is also known as shloka, because it has a few, perhaps it has a few variants, but generally it is known as shloka, out of which anushtup is a subset. And so, like this, the eight syllables, half a pada, another 8 syllables, so 16 syllables in a particular very loose fashion. There are many variations, and the whole idea is that, in a fervor of devotion, it should be easy to compose. So when somebody is, invoking Bhagavan and is prayerful and is also poetic, you don't need to be counting the syllables. Laghu Guru, like this. Laghu means short. Guru means long. So the long and short and strong and non-strong syllables, consonants, etc. It somehow, unless one is Kalidasa, a poet par excellence, otherwise you end up counting. If one is not Kalidasa, definitely you have to count to make sure that there is no Guru syllable where there should be Laghu syllable. Otherwise the meter gets thrown off. That's why even if we don't chant it correctly, we're not putting enough emphasis on the heavy syllables or on the long syllables. Then also when we chant, sometimes we see that the meter is off. So therefore, the shloka meter is supposed to, be for, ease of expression. And so from the meter itself, we understand what the word shloka means. Something that is, that has many forms and that can take on many forms and is devotional, is not without a devotional fervor, spontaneous, devotional, and many different ways of worshipping. So here there are 100 different ways of worshipping in this text called Shatashloki. 101, but the last verse is a concluding verse. And so, this is this is the first thing we should know. She who is in the form of 100 verses. And so it is attributed to Adi Shankaracharya, like the Viveka Chudamani, like Tattva Bodha, Atma Bodha, this Bodha, that Bodha, so many things. Most of the what are called the Prakarana granthas, the texts in the tradition that unfold the nature of the Atma in a systematic way. You know how it is done usually when it is taught to a student, along with the various drishtantas, examples, pedagogical devices. Avastha, Traya, Prakriya. These devices are called, these pedagogical devices are called Prakriyas. Avastha, Traya, Prakriya. Waker is you, sleeper is you, dreamer is you. And so what are you? You are neither waker nor dreamer nor sleeper. Karya Karana Prakriya. Cause-effect methodology. Effect non-separate from the cause. In fact, the whole effect, like even the pot, is non-separate from the cause. But cause is not effect. Effect is cause, but cause is not effect. Then like this, we have, so many devices. So that text which unfolds the Shastra, the teaching, along with all the pedagogical devices, examples in a systematic way, is called what? It's called the Prakarana Grantha. So this Shatashloki is a Prakarana Grantha attributed to Adi Shankaracharya. So we will look into that and study this verse by verse in detail. Before we commence, we will start with the opening prayer. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Many Prakarana Granthas are attributed to Adi Shankara. Because, you see, there is no author, you cannot have authorship of anything in the Guru Parampara, in the tradition. Why? Because everything that you say, anything that you may say in the most flowery way, using fantastic examples, alliterations, word plays, is already been said before. Whatever you say, it is not, it is not an invention. It is nothing new about it. Because, it's been said before. In fact, the Kena Upanishad gives a wonderful example of this. It says, we don't know. Na vidmaha, na vijanimaha. Ya etad anushishya. How to teach this we ourselves don't know. The teacher in the Kena Upanishad says this. Na vidmo na vijanimaha. Ya etad anushishya. And and then why? Anyadeva tad viditat. Atho aviditat adhi. So it is anyat. It is not, it is separate. It is not what you know. Oh, so the Atma, which is the subject matter of the Upanishad, is not what I know. No, it is not whatever you think you are not that. It is not what you think you are. And then it's not also what you don't think you are. Ayyo, where to go from here? iti shushrumadhirana yenastat vyachachakshire. Na vidmaha, na vijanimaha. We don't know how to teach this. So what we can do is just repeat what we have heard from our saints, teachers, stalwarts, and the bright lights of this tradition. Whatever they taught us, we are just regurgitating. We are just, what should I say, microphones of the Shruti, which is the original teacher. Bhagavan is the original teacher. And then the Gurus, blessed by, Bhagavan, and the students in the tradition who then become teachers, carry this ulka, the torch of knowledge forward, and effortlessly, and without ahankara, ego. And to illustrate that is illustrated in the tradition by none of the acharyas, teachers or writers, scholars in the tradition, signing their name onto any work that they have done. They didn't feel that it was needed. They didn't even feel that it was their creation, because they were all, yatis, sannyasis and jnanis of the highest order. And so they just, gave the credit to Adi Shankara, who again was not the founder of this tradition. In fact, the tradition has no founder. Vyasa, Adi Shankara are just bright lights, of the tradition. Adi Shankara in particular is revered because he is like a comet. In the short life of 32 years, he brought so many things to light. He brought the tradition to light and was an important link from, Vyasa, etc. Vyasa again was not the founder. He is as far back as we have a name. That's all it is. Even before Vyasa, the tradition thrived. So many names, so many, teachers, we don't know. And so therefore what? So therefore, all these writers and scholars, they just gave the credit to Adi Shankaracharya. And that's why Adi Shankaracharya has so many works attributed to him. So many works. And therefore, it is, it is after some study into Adi Shankara's own scholarship, as evidenced by some works like Upadesha Sahasri, the teaching in 1,000 ways, 1,000 forms of teaching. It's a text that is, that has Adi Shankara's signature on it. Very wonderful and versatile text, very terse, very difficult also, and half of it is in prose and the other half is in poetry. And so, that has his stamp on it. And there are, Dakshinamurti Stotram has his stamp on it. So few other works like that, and the rest of it we say attributed to Adi Shankara. And to us really it doesn't matter, because the knowledge that is contained in Shatashloki, Viveka Chudamani, Tattva Bodha, Atma Bodha, scores of other what are called Prakarana granthas, they all are, are influenced by the, the bright teachings of Adi Shankara. So Shatashloki, has in common with other Prakarana granthas that are attributed to Adi Shankara. It has that same, brand where the teacher is not known. And there is no lament there, because the teacher, in effacing or erasing themselves have actually, brought the tradition forward. So it's like, they used to have, I don't know if they still do, but they used to have a race in the ancient times where they used to run with a torch, and then they used to hand in the Greek and Roman times, they used to hand that flaming torch to like a relay race, but with a flaming torch, and that torch would be carried by the person and by another person and another person, and then finally the last one would light the lamp or something like that. It was there. And so the whole point of the individual runners who carried the torch was just to make sure that the torch is alive, burning brightly, and that is how the parampara is passed on. And so this Shatashloki is is an important star in the parampara. And even though we don't focus on who carried that particular torch, doesn't matter. It is here for us to enjoy, and here for us to, see and appreciate the nuances, the poetic nuances of this grantha. And so we don't need to obsess about who is the writer, whether it is really Adi Shankara or not. I say not, and for reasons which will become evident. But that's not that's a waste of time. Rather than delve into the nectar of the poem, we are trying to sort of academically arrive at authorship. For us, the author is not important. Yeah, as long as it's a ship, that takes one out of samsara, it's enough. So the author, is just someone who has contributed, and this is a very important and a very lucid contribution, a very lucid composition. And a few things, we look at the structure of this verse and of the verses, and then we will go forward with this. And so now the meter is called, what is the name of the meter? Sragdhara. Not for the faint of heart. And oh, by the way, if you haven't downloaded the text, please do so. It should be there. Is it there? Because I was having some problem with uploading it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Shatashloki with transliteration, and it's a 48 MB big file. And so please download it if you haven't done so. And if you look at it, you see that the composition of the individual verses is not for the faint of heart. In fact, some of the verses, like for example, if I can just direct your attention to the first line of verse number 2, it's just 2 words. You can see how klishta, how complicated the Sanskrit is, and sometimes it's only one word, and sometimes there are run-on sentences. The first verse, the first line of the verse, the second line of the verse, are together, and then for the sake of chanting and analysis, we stop. But really, this is how it is, and so. Therefore, what? So therefore, this is this is not often used. It's very difficult to compose. Called Sragdhara, and very interesting name. Sragdhara means she who is holding a garland. Very beautiful. And so, who is this she who is holding a garland? I mean, on the Rudhi Artha, Rudhi means, the colloquial meaning is someone, let's say, a woman who is holding a garland, maybe she's getting ready to go to the temple and worship Bhagavan with this garland. Or maybe it is a Swayamvara. Swayamvara means like Draupadi, the Draupadi choosing, her paramour, and Swayamvara means an ancient form of marriage where the usually for princesses, the princess would go around the room where all the hall where all the kings would be invited, and each king would bring one sidekick, like a minister or somebody who would, wax eloquent about the what is that called, the achievements of that particular prince or king. And then she would go with a garland from one to another, and if she walked away, that means she's not interested in this particular fellow. And then when she found somebody that she, liked, she would put the garland around their neck. And so like that, Sragdhara would mean a woman who is about to choose her committed life partner, or a woman about to go put this garland on the deity in the temple. So if it is the name of a meter, very beautiful, it invokes a kind of a in the first instance, if she is going to the temple with a garland, that means what? It invokes devotion. The meter itself is, embedded in the meter is a devotional, quality to it. And then in the second instance, if it is a princess or a, or somebody, a royal girl waiting to wed her, prince of choice. That means what? It is a woman here about to be committed to something. So devotion and commitment are the hallmarks of this particular what's its name, meter. It invites that, and so devotion and commitment. And here, since the meter is being applied to what is that called, the pursuit, a set of verses that unfold this Atma Jnanam, the nature of the Atma, the knowledge of the self. And since it unfolds that, it also gives us a hint of how we should approach these verses with devotion and with commitment. This is what the whole thing is. And also Sragdhara, has one more meaning. A little bit, what should I say? A little bit not rudhi artha. Rudhi means not the colloquial or the obvious meaning. There is a not so obvious meaning which we should also look into, which is very, very pertinent for our purposes. And what is that, not so obvious meaning? Srag means garland. So she who is the holder of the garland, here we are not here. In the first two instances we saw that the holder of the garland is separate from the garland that she is holding. But what if, she who holds the garland is a thread upon which all the flowers, like we see in India on the roadside, especially in South India, you go in the evening to the market, oh, it's a sight. It's just wonderful. All these women sitting on both sides of the road leading to the market, and then they have flowers, jasmines, and they with a string, they just basically make the garland in front of you, and then they measure it, with their hands, and then they cut it and give it to you. How much do you want? And so this is a sight to behold. It's just the whole road is so fragrant, and here I want us to look at the string. So what? So then the string, so the string becomes the she, becomes the Shruti here, because it is, it is talking about Vedanta. It is talking about unfolding the nature of the Atma, and so that goddess who is the Shruti is always, Shruti is always feminine. Teaching is feminine, and we've seen this in other contexts, and so she is the string in this instance. And so she here refers not to the woman holding a ready-made garland, which is separate from her, which she is using to, which garland she is going to use to express her commitment or her devotion, and her devotion and her commitment. Here, what is the she? She is non-separate from the garland itself, and she is in fact the string that holds up the garland. Oh, beautiful, awesome to look at it this way. Much more pertinent for us to look at it this way, because here, it is that which is invisible to the naked eye. It is the string is not supposed to be seen when you look at the garland. Nobody buys the garland for the string. In fact, if the garland is very stringy with the flowers strung far apart, it's not seen as, beautiful. It is only gorgeous when you see only the blooming flowers and you cannot see the string. And so too, all the flowers in the form of the many and varied things in the Jagat shine. They shine, they are available for objectification. We look at all the things in the universe and celebrate their existence. We derive joy, and we are affected by the heady fragrance. We get lost in it, and then the string is not visible. And what is the string? The string is you yourself. You are that string. You are that Atma, which which is described in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita as Sutre Maniganaha Eva. In a group of beads, in a bunch of beads, oh Arjuna, I hold everything, in the form of a string. In fact, the necklace that is on the neck, derives, garners a lot of compliments, derives praise, not because of the beads, but that, string, which basically makes itself invisible and then at the same time broadcasts the beads, and then itself is what? Not seen. This is what, but if the string is cut or breaks, then all the beads are gone. What necklace is there? No necklace, only neck is there. That which makes the necklace is the string. So Sragdhara is here that, what's its name? String, that skein which holds everything together. Dharyate, Dharyate idam jagat, again from the Bhagavad Gita, that which holds up the entire jagat, without needing compliments, without advertising itself. And because it is not available for objectification, invisible like the string, and one only sees what? The flowers. And similarly in the Jagat, one only sees and enjoys the Nama Rupas. And then when do you see the string in the garland? When the flowers have died away. Similarly, you can say either when the finite Nama Rupas, that are close to oneself, such as, the house and, one's possessions, one's dream job, so many things, comes to an end, or goes away from oneself. Loved ones go away, and there is a breakup, there is something else, there is some misunderstanding, or something happens, and whatever you think is yours goes away. Then the string is seen. So when one is strung out because of life, then one finally pays attention to the string. Why is this happening to me? Is there something I need to look at myself? Should I see something? Am I missing something? Then only the string is seen. So just like when the garland starts to dry up, then you see the string. So here also, in the first instance, there is what? Shmashana Vairagya. Shmashana Vairagya means a kind of a funeral ground Vairagya. Funeral ground means what? So, the story is that somebody is, some young person, some, maybe somebody the child of a friend, suddenly passes away. And then what? One is gripped by sorrow, and one thinks, what is this? What Papa had this child done? What Papa had the parents done? Why is this happening? How unfair! And such a small child has passed away all of a sudden. How are we going to do this? And then, all the fear of one's own mortality and that of one's children. One is just so upset, and then, feels, you don't feel like eating. The person doesn't feel like drinking, and the person just, goes to the funeral and then comes back all dejected. Until what? Until, there is some, somebody has parked their car in your driveway when you come back from the funeral. This person comes back from the funeral and then all dejected, doesn't even want to eat or drink, and can't get into their own driveway because some idiot has parked in the driveway, and already the mood is spoilt, and then they get out of the car and then let loose their mind. This is my driveway. Give the even though they don't know who it is, because the car is just parked, they don't know. But they let themselves loose, yell, scream, and give this person a peace of mind, even though they are not there to hear it. How dare you? This is my house. And what's wrong? And why don't you park on the street? And all these kinds of things. Sometimes people are even possessive of the spot which is on the public road in front of their house, even though it's not blocking the driveway or anything. So what to talk of if the car is blocking the driveway even a little bit? So what happened to this Vairagya? Vairagya means this dispassion. Dispassion with all the Nama Rupas, the name and form, names and forms, or words and meanings, and all the glitter, the bling of the universe, and all the baubles and beads of the universe. One is, one gets tired of playing with because you feel like they go away. The necklace keeps breaking, then only you see the string. Like I said, you have to be strung out to see the string. This is what is called Jihasa Vairagya or Shmashana Vairagya, a kind of a temporary Vairagya whose onset, Vairagya means the desire to leave everything. Like, why does this matter? Why am I so attached to everything? It goes away anyway. Look at, I got attached to the flowers on the garland and they all dried up. So the Nama Rupas too are drying up, and they refuse to have they don't have the power to keep me entertained. And so in between Nama Rupas, before, after getting sick of one set of Nama Rupas, and before going for, completely another set of Nama Rupa, before falling in love with another set of Nama Rupa, that brief little, view of the string, so to speak, is to be celebrated. That is where the muksha is hiding, the desire for, freedom is hiding. That is where the jignasa, the desire for this knowledge, is also hiding. Uh, So this is one way. This is called jihasa vairagya. Nothing wrong. It's only not lasting. So you have to act upon it quickly. But how to act upon it quickly? Take this vairagya to the teacher. Take this vairagya to the classroom. And even online classroom? Sure, even online classroom. So this little flickering mumuksha, which is what? Threatened by the winds, of distraction and the winds of the Jagat, all the tempting winds of the Jagat are threatening to engulf this little flickering flame. Take it to the teacher. Even if it's a little bit of vairagya, the teacher will fuel the vairagya by, putting the oil of the Shastra to keep this vairagya, mumuksha, jignasa burning, for the desire for freedom burning in the heart of the student. The oil is the Shastra, and the wick is the jiva, and the wick, the lamp is the jiva, the wick is the what is that? The wick is the commitment, the desire to study, all these things. So the wick was lit up a little bit, and now is, for this jihasa vairagya to convert itself into what? Vairagya, the true vairagya. True vairagya means that which is lasting. This is done with the intervention of the Shastra. Otherwise, what will happen if one doesn't expose oneself to the Shastra? Then that jihasa vairagya dies away. When a new name and form comes along, that catches one's fancy. This one dies away, and then that one takes over, and then so on and on and on and on. There is no end. And so this, this is what it is. So the first meaning, the first, interpretation of this last meaning we are giving to Sragdhara, where the Srag itself is the Shastra, is the Atma, and then she who upholds all the names and forms. Tasmad va etasmad atmana akashas sambhutah akashad vayuh vayoragnihi agnerapah adbhyah prithivi. Out of this Atma came everything, declares the Taittiriya Upanishad, and where from this Atma, starting with the 5 elements, all the way up to the human body and the plants and the trees that nourish the human body, all of this have come from the Atma. Atma means I, that Satchidanandam Brahma, which is in the form of that consciousness which inheres the whole world of name and form like even a thread. So this is the first meaning, is jihasa vairagya, where one flower drops away, and then you have a brief look into the string before getting mesmerized perhaps by the next flower down the the garland. And so here, bring that small, act on that small little vairagya, and then bring the disappointment into the teaching situation, not to rehearse the disappointment, but to reverse the disappointment by, making an appointment with the Shastra, so that one discovers the truth of oneself, because of which one is never disappointed. That is the truth of oneself. That which is never capable of being disappointed is the Atma. Now, the second way in which you see the string is when the Namarupa dies away. How? Through the practice, through the cultivation of Vairagya, and with the help of the Shastra, the knowledge. What happens? Your investment in the Namarupa dies away. It's not that the Nama-Rupa dies away. For you, the Nama-Rupa dies away. For you, the Jagat, as a separate entity, which you want to milk, which you want to make it into your own, something, your own cash cow, that dies away. Your investment in the Jagat as a separate entity, possible, as a possible source of happiness and contentment, dies away. Then what? The string is clearly visible. No, not visible, because it cannot be objectified here. The string representing the Atma cannot be objectified. Nay, the string is you. Therefore, you see how appropriate this meter is for what? For the for this particular study. So we can take all the three meanings. We can take the meaning of the Shishya, like even the lady, about to enter the temple to garland her Ishtadevata, the deity, with the garland that she has made herself. So here devotion is needed, bhakti is needed. And that bhakti is expressed in the form of this garland making, which is karma, which is all the, manasam karma, kayikam karma, vachikam karma, physicalized action, like even making and offering the garland, verbal action like chanting the names of the Lord or the goddess, and then what, mental actions, meditation, etc. So this bhakti is there expressed in all the ways, and then so without devotion this knowledge cannot be gained. The Shatashloki cannot become ours, without this devotion. And then the other meaning we saw was that somebody who is ready to wed their paramour, invited, choosing among a series of candidates. The princess chooses one particular prince or king and puts the garland on his neck, and here it is commitment. So it's the wedding is always a commitment, and so here is the commitment, a lifelong commitment being made to the Shastra devotionally. And then finally, one has to transcend these two meanings and see something that is even deeper. That here there is no woman, who is this so-called woman? The woman is the string that is, that is showcasing the Jagat. That string is what? Like the string, the Atma, invisible in itself, not because it cannot be seen, because it is you. It need not be seen because it is self-evident, you. And so the self-evident I, is holding up the entire Jagat of names and forms and still searching for that I and getting, caught up in the names and forms for want of a method of understanding, for want of what is called a pramana, a means of knowledge. And this is, this is the meaning to, this is the main meaning we have to take. So the devotion and the commitment is the method, and what to see here is the third meaning. That string itself is Sragdhara, and that string is Bhagavan. That string is you. That string is the teaching of non-separation. Very, very beautiful. And so, and in the coming, weeks and months, we will be studying this. And I've given some of the dates for the classes, and then after that I'll update it again, because the fall is very busy with lot of travel and everything. So we will study this twice a week, and so we will immerse in it a little bit, and then we can pick it up. Doesn't matter how long it takes, because each verse is a treatise in itself. And even if it's not a treatise, it is definitely a treat. and so we'll be looking at that. And then how to chant this, because it is so, what's the word for it? It is so, what's that? Dense, How to chant it? There are two ways of chanting it. One is what is called, what we shall call is a fancy way, and the other one is a regular way. And how do we know that there is a fancy way? Because in the same meter we have two stanzas in the Dhyana Shloka of the Vishnu Sahasranama. We have that, same meter. Kshirodanvat pradeshe shuchimani vilasat saikater mauktikanam mala klipta sanasthas phatikamani nibhair mauktikayir manditangah शुभ्रैरभ्रैरदभ्रैरुपरि विरचितैर्मुक्तपीयूषवर्षैः आनन्दीनः पुनीयादरिनलिनगदा शङ्खपाणिर्मुकुन्दः. This is the fancy way of chanting it, very beautiful, and so and also a mouthful, and so that is one way. And and we can try that with this here, and sometimes maybe we can revert to it when we have some important verses to look at. We can revert to the fancy teaching, and then there is another way. And because we have also encountered this, this particular meter earlier, earlier we've encountered this before in our journey, in our Vedanta journey together. In Atlanta, I taught this one. What is that called? What is the text? Shiva Aparadha Kshamapana Stotram, the atonement. Verses of atonement. What is that for? Verses of atonement for omissions and commissions, for which Shiva is the deity. Chantavyo me paradha Shiva 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 bho Shri Mahadeva Shambho Balye Dukkhatigo Malalulita vapuhu Sthanyapane pipasa. Like that, you can chant it like that also. Little less fancy, and then little more stopping points, which is actually a relief for us. Okay, and so this is. These are the two ways of, at least that I know of chanting this particular meter, and so we will be using the second one mostly. But since since we can chant the first verse in first two verses. We will chant in the fancy version, just because the first two verses are important. The first verse is a praise, a salutation to the Guru. A very common way to start any Vedanta text is to revere the teacher, because of whom that knowledge has been internalized and that knowledge has been given to others. And like I said, there is nothing new you can say. Everything has been there, done that, been there, done that, been there, done that, said before, said before, said before. In fact, every acharya is a blatant plagiarist. In academia, you say you should cite the sources. You cannot just write as though it's all just whatever it has come from somewhere. You can't write. You have to show where it has come from. You have to cite things from the internet. This is how to cite things from the internet. This is how to cite books. This is how to cite articles. There are there are rules. In fact, there is a big book called the Chicago Manual of Style, coming out of, I suppose, the University of Chicago, which sets the trend of how these citations should be. So if you are writing an article, you have to follow the Chicago Manual of Style, and then put in all the citations. Otherwise, it is actually aparadha. It is seen. It is frowned upon. And in fact, if a student plagiarizes, it is seen as plagiarism. If you don't do this, if you just take things off the internet and then palm it off as your own, and and you're taking a class for credit, definitely the teacher will fail such a student. Not only fail, they can be disbarred or expelled from the university also. This is taken very seriously. But for us, coming from the understanding that knowledge cannot be owned, for us it is, this is all been there, done that, been there, done that. And so, this is something which is very, very, we take it as a matter of pride that we are repeating the words of the Gurus. All the stalwarts in the tradition have done our work. All we have to all we have to do is sit and revel in whatever they have said, and if that helps a few more people along, wonderful. So that is, that is how we look at this whole situation. So with these words, let us try our luck, chanting the first verse. Okay. दृष्टान्तो नैव दृष्टस्त्रिभुवन जठरे सद्गुरो ज्ञानदातुः स्पर्शश्चेतत्र कल्प्यः स नयति यदहो स्वर्णतामश्मसारम् न स्पर्शत्वं तथापि श्रितचरणयुगे सद्गुरु स्वीय शिष्ये स्वीयं साम्यं विधत्ते भवति निरुपमस्तेन वा लौकिकोऽपि. So this is how you would chant it in a fancy way. But we will just reserve this for the first two verses, and then maybe something else if it's important coming along, or if people are feeling sleepy, you can tell me and we can have a change of pace with a fancy chanting. So let us just look at this. Drishtantaha naiva drishtaha. An example is not seen. Where? Tribhuvana jathare. In the entrails of all the three worlds. Whether it is bhuhu, bhuvaha, suvaha, any, all the three worlds, and, all the lokas, in all the lokas, in all the three lokas, in the entrails, meaning even if you go deep into all the three lokas, you will not find an example. There is no example that is seen in the entrails of all the three worlds. For what? For the jnana dhatuhu, for the giver of self-knowledge, Sadguruhu. Sadguru means, Sataha Guruhu, Sadguruhu. For the teacher of Sat, Vedanta, oneself, who is the giver of knowledge. Sadguru is not just there sitting as sitting on a throne like in a showcase. Actually, they are actively engaged in giving of the knowledge. Jnana dhatuhu. For this teacher, who is Sadguru? Drishtantaha naiva drishtaha. There is no example that is seen where? In the entrails of all the three worlds. And then in the second line, the person, the author, muses. What does the author muse? Sparshaschet. Let us say we compare the teacher to the mystical, alchemic, what is that called? Philosopher's stone. Philosopher's stone? Anything it touches, it has what is called the Midas touch. Anything it touches becomes gold. Sparshaschet. What if we compare the philosopher's stone? What if we compare the teacher to the philosopher's stone, which magically turns everything into a shining gold? Tatra, in this context, sparshashchet, if we compare the teacher to the philosopher's, sparsha means sparshamani, the whole, philosopher's stone, Sparshamani. Here, just the short form of Sparsha is used. Sparshas if we say this is Sparsha, then Tatra Kalpyaha, if supposing that is what is, it is, if it is assumed to be, if the Sadguru is assumed to be the Sparsha, Sparsha means what? This philosopher's stone. Sa Nayati Yadaho Swarnatam, Ashmasaram. So let us say we can compare the philosopher's stone that turns Ashmasaram, a mass of iron, into what? Swarnata, gives it a goldenness. So it changes the iron into gold. So Nayati, it takes this mass of iron and makes it into gold. Let us say, aho, look at this magic, or we can say aho, which is, we can take double meaning of aho. One is magically, another meaning is alak, alas. It's aho is both a adbhuta vachya, meaning something that is a wondrous exclamation, or even a lamenting exclamation. So in the second instance, it's a lamenting exclamation. Aho, nasparshatvam tathapi. What is the use of comparing the teacher to the philosopher's stone that turns everything it touches into gold? But what does our teacher do? Our teacher, the Guru here, changes every student into the Guru. So the philosopher's stone is not a good comparison, because the philosopher's stone truly, yes, changes everything into gold, no doubt. But can the philosopher's stone change everything into another philosopher's stone? Whatever it touches? Na, aho, alas. This example also should be given up. Very beautiful, as you can see, and more we will see next week. I think 28th is the next class, 28th and 29th. Okay, yeah, nice to see all of you. May you keep coming and studying, and may you continue to enjoy this text. That is my prayer. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaga Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.